Or did Miss Walker or did Miss Roberts ever tell you who the hotel's name was in?
Her uncle's name. They used his ID to register the room. Had him register the room for them.
Did she say why?
She said, "You know why."
Did she offer any other information other than you know why?
No, that's pretty much it. She said, "You know why. You know why."
What did you believe the why was?
You're right. It's
I'll withdraw.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did you ever ask Miss Roberts whether she called the police?
Did we ask her if she called the police?
Did you yourself ask
Yes.
her or your partner while you were there, ask her whether or not she herself called the police?
Yes, and she said no, she didn't.
May I just have one moment, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
For sure, refresh her with the page line if she needs to.
Detective Russell, did you ever make any inquiry to Miss Roberts as to the little boy's ability to leave the vehicle?
Yes.
And what did she say to you?
She said he wasn't tied down or nothing, that he could have left the vehicle, but I asked her when they went to Javion's father's house. I was just surprised that if he's at Javion's father's house, why didn't he just get out of the car?
Is that what you said to Miss Roberts?
Yes, that's what I said.
And what was Miss Roberts' response to you?
She said, "I don't know."
Now,
Judge, there is page 140 of 200 and some odd pages that the prosecutor's just shown me with 294 pages. I'm so far up to page 95. This was sent to me during the course of this exam. So if I can have some time to cross-examine, to review it so that I can effectively cross-examine Detective Russell, I would appreciate it, Judge.
And how much time do you need to review it? When we take our lunch break,
Yes,
will that
ma'am.
be sufficient?
For 290 some pages, yes, Judge. I will do my absolute best.
And if you need more time, then you'll be granted more time.
Thank you.
Let's plan to do it when we break for lunch. Okay, you may continue.
thank you. Detective Russell, do you remember asking a specific question to Miss Roberts about whether or not the victim, Mr. Mitchell, was free to leave? Do you recall
I don't.
what her answer was?
I don't. If you could let me look at something to refresh.
Was
my
looking
memory.
at the transcript of the interview from June the 2nd, 2016, refresh your recollection as to Miss Roberts' response.
Yes.
Judge, I have shown Ms. Diallo, and I'm referring to page 140. It would be lines 3 through 5.
May I approach the witness with a copy of the...
Just 1 second, let me have Ms. Diallo review it.
Oh, but it was... Okay.
May I approach?
Ms. Diallo, you've reviewed it?
I reviewed it, Judge.
Okay, you may approach.
Thank you. Now, Detective Roberts, I'm handing you a binder with a multi-page document, 293 pages to be exact. I want to direct your attention, if you could just grab it so it doesn't fall. I want to direct your attention to lines 3 through 5. Could you please read those to yourself and look up when you're done?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall the question that you asked and the answer that Ms. Roberts gave? Did that refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Okay. And what question did you ask Ms. Roberts?
It was actually my partner that asked that question.
I'm sorry,
So
Detective.
you're confusing me when
Was
you
that
say that.
Detective
Yes.
Owens?
Yes.
I apologize. Were you present when Detective Owens asked that question of Ms. Roberts?
I was present, and I do remember him asking Ms. Roberts whether or not Deontae Mitchell felt like he was free to leave the car, and she said probably not. I do remember that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. No other questions at this time.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
Just briefly, Judge, before we go on our break, Judge, so I can just clear up something that was just asked of this particular witness.
Yes, and let me just indicate that we probably have time for one more witness. I'm not certain if the people have a brief witness that they can put on. And then, of course, this will change the order of the examination because, Ms. Diallo, you will be given the opportunity
you.
to fully cross-examine. You may proceed.
Thank you. And what, again, good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Now, it's fair to say there were more than two people in that witness room interviewing Miss Roberts, correct?
Me and my partner.
And who is, was there a Detective Wesley in the room as well?
No, that's I was told that when whoever transcribed the audio to paper that they may have misunderstood what I'm Detective Russell, not Wesley.
Okay, so that would be you. You
Yes.
are the,
Yes.
Thank you so much. Now, so if you are Detective
Wesley.
Russell, in fact, you asked the question specifically of Miss Roberts if she saw a gun that Mr. Walker allegedly had, correct?
Did I ask that question?
Yes, you did. Did he pull out a gun at all? In her response on page 136, I didn't see him with it out, but I know the little boy knew he had it because that's page 136. You see that? Oh, you have a copy?
Yeah. Page 136.
Page 136, and that would be line 6. Yes, sir. You see that?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember.
Okay, and
Okay,
then,
yeah.
let's go to page 137, when your partner, Detective Owens, asked the following question, and we're talking about the gun, page, line 2 through 9. Okay, let's not get into that. We not get into that, but you described the silver revolver that Greg had while he was sitting in the back seat, and while you were driving this little boy around, right? Miss Roberts' response, yeah, I'm assuming he had it in his pocket. He didn't like he had it waving it out. I mean, but. You see that?
Yes.
Okay. And could you tell me where in the interview there's a reference to jumping out and getting Javion? Would that be toward the beginning, middle, or end?
I don't remember where it would be at.
Okay.
In this, would it, in this
Okay.
package, I'm not sure.
That's fine. I appreciate that. And when you spoke with Ms. Roberts, this was a very long conversation, correct?
It was pretty long.
And at times, the officer, and that would have been Detective Owens, was telling Ms. Roberts what she knew, correct? Or what she should have known. Okay, let's do this. Go to page 138 and look at line 12 through 18. Or 12 all the way to the end of the page. Okay, so let's start at line 6. by Detective Owens.
Okay.
Because after you drove this little boy around, then you got out and then they did their thing, you know. You all jetted to Ohio. You all came out here. So regardless what you say, and then Miss Roberts says it didn't happen in all those areas. I mean, but it happened in, I'm on page 138, you see that? So you saw that. Okay, so there was conversation about what the investigation had shown up through that time, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, I think he's talking about everything she's telling us. He's coming to his own conclusion.
Right. I thank you. Okay, and then let's go to line 19 on page 138 when Detective well, let's start with line 12. Regardless of what you say, this is basically what happened, you know.
And Judge, I would object. Is there a specific question here on the floor? We can't just read portions of the transcript. The witness hasn't said that she doesn't remember a certain thing or not.
Right, but the witness did say something that's contradictory on her direct as to what my client allegedly said. So this would be for impeachment value, Judge. It's contrary.
Question,
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
And as a matter of fact, Detective Owens did tell Ms. Roberts what the version was that ultimately go into this transcript, correct?
I'm not understanding what you...
Okay. Didn't Detective Owens say, regardless of what you say, that means I don't really care what you're saying, this is what I'm saying happened?
No, see, but you're in the middle of an interview.
I know.
Other stuff has happened.
I know.
And that was said, so I can't tell you why he said what he said, but we're talking, we're doing an interrogation.
And let's
So it's not like we're trying to tell you what's going on, but we're telling you what we believe happened. And
Absolutely.
based on the investigation that we did, and based on what she's telling us.
Okay.
So we're trying to get her to tell us.
And I'm not throwing any aspersions at what you do. I'm asking questions.
Okay.
And let's do this. This is not an interview in question and answer format, correct?
Correct.
There are many ways to take an interview for Detroit Police Department protocol, correct? Question and answer.
Yeah.
They can write it out,
Yeah.
correct?
Correct.
This didn't have any of those earmarks, correct?
Right.
So we're bound by the transcript and the video, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so when I get to page 138, and when it says, line 12, regardless of what you say, this is basically what happened, those are words that Detective Owens said to Ms. Roberts, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Whatever happened before that time or after that time, that's what he said, correct?
Yeah, he said
so
that right
basically, I don't care what you say, this is what I say happened, correct?
I believe that's a mischaracterization of both the transcript and the testimony of this
And the
witness.
court will give you, I'll assign the appropriate weight
I know.
as well as the meaning. Let's keep moving.
Okay, thank you. And as a matter of fact, Ms. Roberts indicated on page 138 when she's talking to Detective Owens that she thought the little boy was free to leave, correct? That's not true to me. Okay, Detective Owens, the next question he asked, the boy was not free to leave when he was with you and Greg, all right? I just get right to it. He wasn't free to leave. Everybody in that car knew that little boy was not free to leave. And Ms. Roberts indicates, no, that's not true to me. Are those words on that page?
That's right.
Okay. And that's all I can do for right now, Judge. I will review the rest of the transcript so that I can ask more coherent questions of Detective Russell. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. At this time, Detective Russell, you are going to be excused. The people will have an opportunity to do redirect once Ms. Seattle as well as if the other defense counsels will be asking questions. People will have the opportunity to redirect, and then so you'll be recalled after lunch. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do the people have an additional witness that they can put on that's brief so that we are able to clear the courtroom by 12:30? Not stop at 12:30. I need everybody out of the courtroom at 12:30 so that we can resume at 1:30.
Yes.
Okay, let's put on that witness.
We're going to go out of order. We're going to call Detective Hauser.
Okay, thank you.
Richard Hauser, HOU, FBI.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm?
This is the constitutional rights form for Coleman.
Yes, sir.
You may proceed.
Okay, you may proceed.
Morning, sir.
Good morning.
Tell the judge your name and occupation, please.
Richard Hauser, a detective with the City of Detroit Police Department.
Detective Hauser, did you play some role in the investigation of a missing person by the name of Deontae Mitchell?
Yes, I'm the officer in charge of the case.
Was one of the things that you did you interview a person named Ernest Coleman?
I did.
Do you remember the day that you interviewed him?
Let me say the 2nd, June 2nd,
All right, and where did that interview take place?
at Homicide Base.
Do you see Mr. Coleman here in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Could you tell the judge where he's sitting and what he's wearing, please?
So I was sitting at the defense table, the yellow one.
Your Honor, the witness is pointing to and describing the clothing and seating position of Ernest Coleman, defendant number 3.
If no objection, you may continue.
Do you recall the time of day it was when you began to interview Mr. Coleman?
That was a long night and day, so I don't recall the time.
Would looking at the constitutional rights notification form help you to remember the time of day?
Yes.
May I approach the witness proposed 15?
Yes, you may.
Okay, it was June 2nd, 2016 at 12:01 p.m.
Okay, and while you have that document in your hand, could you tell us what it is?
It's the Constitutional Rights Certificate of Notification.
Did you use that document to help advise Mr. Coleman of his rights before you began asking him questions?
Yes, I did.
Did you ask him if he knew how to read and write?
I did.
What did he say about that?
He said he could.
Did he read from that page, or did you read the words to him?
He read it. We read it together. I gave him a copy, and I had a copy myself, and we read along together.
Did he ask you to explain any of the rights on that page? Or did he indicate that he needed clarification about anything, if you recall?
No.
Okay. Your Honor,
I'm not sticking to it, but I have no objections.
okay. Judge, I don't believe there's any objection to the admission of proposed Exhibit 15, which would be the constitutional rights notification form.
That's
Mr.
correct,
Davis?
Judge.
Okay, thank you. Then it is admitted.
And I'd offer the witness at this time for voir dire on that issue about the advice of rights.
Did he take a statement that you were afraid to introduce? No. He's in the room for like the first half hour, and then it leaves. So it's Mason gets the bulk of the statement.
Right.
I'll just put him in for the...
Detective Hauser, can you tell us, first of all, how long Mr. Coleman was in custody when you first spoke to him?
I don't recall, sir.
Why not?
I don't recall. No reason. I just don't recall.
Well, was he in custody for a day, a week, hours?
Probably hours.
Hours. Where was he arrested, do you know?
I don't recall.
Why not?
I do not recall.
You're the officer in charge? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Are you familiar with all the police reports filed in this case? Have you reviewed them?
There's numerous reports.
I asked you if
I
you
have
reviewed all of
I
them.
have reviewed the case. Officer in charge, so I can't quote each and every report at this time.
But you don't know when or where Mr. Coleman was arrested, right?
I can't quote that right now, sir. No.
Were you the first interrogating officer to speak to Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
And you said it was at a homicide base, correct?
Yes.
And where's that?
1301 3rd, sir. 5th floor.
All right. And when you are speaking with Mr. Coleman, is anyone else present?
Initially, no. Just myself and him.
Is it being videotaped?
Yes.
And Mr. Coleman was in custody, right?
Yes.
Not free to go, right?
Correct.
And did you tell him why he was in custody?
We talked about the situation in the case, yes.
What did you tell him about why he was in custody?
Actually, he told me it's because of Mr. Walker and the missing child.
I didn't ask you that. I asked you, what did you tell him about why he was in custody?
again, the conversation, when we got in the room, he already knew what he was there for.
I didn't ask you what he knew. I'm asking you what you said.
I asked him to stop talking until we get this in.
So he's starting to talk to you before you gave him his rights, correct?
Correct.
And at some point, did you tell him why he was in custody?
I don't recall.
Why not?
I don't recall.
Did you mention that he was in custody for a murder of a young boy?
I don't recall using those words, sir.
How about did you use the words kidnap?
I don't recall.
False imprisonment?
I don't recall that, sir.
You never gave him any indication whatsoever why he was in custody.
Again, he knew.
I'm not asking you what he knew. I'm asking you what you said.
I didn't use those words, sir. No, I don't.
Did you tell him that he was a suspect?
I do not recall, sir.
May I see the right corner?
Now, let me say this to the people. I asked you if you had a witness that you could put on before we took a break for lunch. And so I'm listening to an officer in charge indicate that he can't recall. That's been his answer to the last 5 questions. So is this a good time for us to break and come back and then people put on their witness? Because I'm telling you, I'm struggling with the officer in charge that just don't recall.
Yes, Judge. The intention here was to present Detective Hauser simply to put in the constitutional rights notification form because it's a different officer that actually took the bulk of the statement. So I expected this to be very brief, simply the notification of rights, and that was it.
So would the people like to continue with this witness at this time since you took them out of order? Or do you want to break now and you can put on this witness either in the appropriate order or when we return from lunch?
We can break and do it after we return from lunch.
Yes, that's a good idea. Good answer. Mr. Davis, please indulge me. We are going to break at this time, and the people can put this witness on at the appropriate time. Ms. Diallo will be ready for your cross-examination of the detective upon our return.
So, Judge, just to use the court's time appropriately, we may want to put another issue about the confession in now. I know that Mr. Daly had told me he has an objection to the method I proposed of introducing it. If we could square that away now, we could probably do it quickly after lunch.
You want to do it on the...
Yeah, my position
I have no
is...
idea what...
So I was going to put in the interview of Ernest Coleman through Detective Corey Mason, and I was going to use a similar method that we just used for Ms. Roberts. I was going to ask him questions and let him answer to the best of his memory. And there's a transcript that's been produced of that interview. Okay, and I know, and
there's a video that...
there's a video.
Yes.
The video for Mr. Coleman is 7 hours long. Where there's gaps, there's breaks that were taken, so it's not 7 solid hours, but it's a lengthy interview. The transcript is 230 pages.
And Judge, my position is that under the best evidence rule and the rule of completeness, that the prosecution is only entitled to introduce his actual statement, not summaries, not bits and pieces, but you need to hear the entire statement, as opposed to the prosecution picking certain things that they think will help their case and putting that in, and then me trying to find out where in the transcript there is something that's contradictory to it and trying to confront the witness. So the only fair and correct way to do this is for you to actually either see the video or to read the transcript of the video.
I would just...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I didn't know you were talking. Sorry.
So if they attempt to do what they propose to do, I will mark the transcript as an exhibit and move for its admission.
I think we can probably come to an agreement, although I definitely disagree on what he's saying about the best evidence rule. I certainly can pick and choose the portions of the statement that I want to use. The only thing that rule limits me from doing is taking things out of context. I can't tell the court, for instance, if a defendant says, I shot the man, and leave out the second part of the sentence where he says, as he was rushing at me with a knife. We certainly can't do that. We can't mischaracterize the statement. But there's no obligation that I put in the entire statement. I can certainly pick and choose the portions that I want the court to hear.
My question becomes, for clarity, is that everything has been provided to all of the defense attorneys. Is that correct?
So there's some issue there. I had emailed each of them 2 large PDF files of both the transcripts of these statements. I think I did it as we broke for court last time we were here in front of you. I know we reviewed Ms. Diallo's email. It doesn't appear there. It may have been the file was too large. I'm going to have to print out and give them a hard copy. I know I sent it, but if they're telling me they didn't receive it, I have no reason to doubt that. It could be.
Okay. Have the defense attorneys reviewed the videos?
Yes, on behalf of Ms. Roberts, the very lengthy 4+ hour video.
Okay.
And yes as well, Judge.
Mr. Daly?
No, I have not, but I have the transcript.
But did you have access?
Yes.
Were you given the 7-hour video of your client?
Yes.
Okay, because what the court is inclined to do, and I want to sidebar with the
Yes, ma'am.
attorneys. Statement given, the transcript of the statement given by Ms. Roberts, as well as the transcript of the statement given by Mr. Coleman, that those exhibits will be admitted. And again, Mr. Kessel, I understand that your objection will be that nothing that was said in those interviews can be used against your client, as well as Ms. Diallo. Anything that was said by Mr. Coleman will not be used against your client, Ms. Roberts, and Mr. Daly. Anything that was said by Ms. Coleman, of course, will not be used against your client, Mr. Did I say that right? Said by Ms. Roberts will not be used against Mr. Coleman.
Thank you, Judge.
And the prosecutor, Mr. Surma, is going to make those documents available to the court within the next 20 minutes.
Judge,
So I believe that this is a good time. I'll give the parties an opportunity if there's something else that needs to be said so that we're able to move expeditiously when we return from lunch, that I believe this is a good time for us to stop. We will open court. We will resume still at 1:30. And so hopefully we'll get as much done and hopefully complete, because I think the people have at least still 2 witnesses, and the cross-examination of one of the detectives. Okay, for the people?
Exhibit 16 will be a 225-page document titled In the Matter of Case Number 1606010044, Ernest Coleman, June 2nd, 2016, transcribed by Andrea Filar, Filar, certified stenographer 8349.
Thank you.
Exhibit 17 will be in the matter of case number 1606010044, Lillian Roberts, dated June 2nd, 2016, a 293-page document transcribed by Andrea Filar.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else on behalf of either defendant before we break for lunch?
Nothing for Mr. Walker, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Daly.
Thank you, Judge.
Nothing else?
No.
Okay. All right, I'll see the parties at 1:30.